how NFTs can revolutionize startup funding.
Hi everyone, thank you for having me here. My name is Rene Darmos. I'm representing and I'm CEO of the Moonhill Capital Fund. We are located in Czech Republic in Prague. And I think I'm quite the opposite side here because we are actually not investing into NFTs, but we are observing this space, and that could be like the opposite.
Very good. Hey, I'm Ekin Tuna. I'm the head of business development at �Waves Labs and also the managing director at Ariel Capital. So we grow the 𝐉𝐨𝐬𝐬 ecosystem, and we offer financial solutions for Web3 projects. Very good.
Yeah, hi, I'm Girish from India. I do strategic advisory for Web3, Metaverse, and blockchain projects. This is going to be a very interesting topic. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Dmitry Mikhaylov. I'm a professor in the National University of Singapore, and I'm Chief Scientific Officer in the game project for 𝐾ANA, where we use research NFTs that I want to highlight a little bit today, where we issue NFTs for fundraising on scientific experiments. It's quite amazing what we can do now in Web3.
Scientific in
the gaming.
In the game. Okay, got it. Got it. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so this has actually been a conversation I've had with a lot of VCs and family offices, and predominantly family offices, where I asked them, you know, NFTs. Well, especially right now, right? Because the hype is not even there, and there are a lot of times institutions waiting for regulations before they get into things like this. I guess risky assets. So why would you say you guys haven't invested in NFTs?
You know, mostly we were not investing because it was overhyped, and it's really difficult when something is hyped. It's difficult to have a clear vision what is real, what is not real, where it's just shield and so on. And obviously at the beginning, those were just JPEGs that you own. And now we are starting observing it because I can see the potential there, and communities can be dragged in a really great way. Zach already mentioned WeFriends, and the friend of mine from region of Czechoslovakia, he actually executed his plan in this way, and it worked perfectly. So I see a potential there, and I like to observe the space when there is not this much hype, you know. I like to go, or we like to go the opposite of the market, because once there are already many people, you just cannot make money on this, but you have to invest and observe it when it's just, you know, down, like now.
So speaking of which, do you think there's still hype?
Nowadays, I don't think there's hype.
So is this a good time for you guys to invest?
I'm not sure if invest, or actually where we are looking is to kind of like NFT infrastructure projects. Yesterday we had a talk with a very interesting guy. He was actually producing Trump's NFTs, and there is a Lobkowicz Palace in Czech Republic that's actually the prince, and they are doing NFTs exposures there, and he was the one who organized it, and they are also cooperating with Ethereum Foundation. So I find this project interesting, but now my role, for example, is to convince my partner just to have a call with them, because they are biased against NFTs, you know?
That makes sense. And would you say is it more risky then?
More risky?
If
like
investing in NFTs, is it very risky? Is that what's stopping you guys?
You know, at the beginning, yeah, we found it risky. Oh, of course, we invested something, but just our personal money. But we lost money on those investments. So, yeah, but I have few friends. They are influencer, huge ones. And they know those communities. They are going to conferences specialized for NFTs. I have also a friend of mine who's advisor for NFT NYC and other conferences. And those are people that I like to talk to, because they know those communities, and I know more like a business part of that you know, cake. So when you combine these two things, I think that you can pretty well lower the risks.
Very good. What about you guys? So first of all, personally, do you invest in NFTs? And why do you think people don't invest in NFTs maybe this year?
Yeah,
as much, let's say. Yeah.
Yeah. So Yeah, I invest personally, or I did before, until I realized that, it's not enough to look at the community metrics and see how big traction there is, but you actually, it's probably good to, look at how does the business value trickle down into the NFT. Like, is there a revenue share model, or is there some sort of a value accretion in there? So I think it was like a learning experience. Like, company-wise, we didn't invest any money there, so just personal. I was pretty okay, actually. I got out in, didn't take too much losses. But yeah, I don't know. So I think this year it will be more difficult because, investors are going to be looking at, indeed, like what's the value of this NFT. It's not enough to have like a big celebrity in the front of it and then have a bunch of hype and, some bot Discord followers. So mainly, I think and it's actually pretty difficult to like do the value accretion because the market is not liquid. So, you're stuck with an asset that doesn't have there isn't actually a proper solution in the market that offers liquidity. There's some lending platforms coming out that can work like this. But, I mean, if you're an investor, you're stuck with this and you own like a bunch of them and there is no liquid market, each of them is unique. I mean, how are you going to get rid of them? It's impossible, basically.
It's also interesting you talk about influencers and celebrities because almost all the celebrities who've launched collections, they failed. But it's certainly, they have a reach for sure. Now, I also don't want to leave an impression for the audience that actually people are not investing into NFTs because just like I said in the previous panel, actually 3 million active wallets was added by just Reddit. So I'm not saying people are not investing, but I'm saying if people are not investing, or the people who are not investing, why do you think that's the case? So that's just to clarify the question. What about yourself? Like, why do you think if people don't invest in NFTs, why do you think that's the case?
Well, if people don't invest in NFTs...
if you speak a little bit closer to...
if people don't invest in NFTs, they're not properly educated. They have to be more aware of the end use cases also of the NFTs. So whether if NFTs is for digital art, it's something worth looking into it. Now, generally in the first hype cycle, you always lose money. That's very normal. That's also in the stocks or or basically buying some other kind of investments in collectibles. But as it matures and people are educated by that time, and you make genuine investments, and there are very good end use cases, and that's a time a lot of investors will come into the market. Of course, the new ones. So as the market matures, there'll be more participants coming in. And that's when NFTs will start picking up. And in that comes in for startup funding. So NFT can be also used for raising funds for startups, which will be very, very transparent. You have full traceability, trackability, and all the participants are involved, and they are very, very aware of the end use of funds being, how they're being used. So NFTs can be used for various things. I can sell a table using an NFT. I'm talking to a startup where they've invented something fantastic. So if I'm a seller of in garments, fashion, or luxury, I can mint the NFT in 10 seconds from the app and sell that product or service. So it's going to just pick up gradually. Of course, the market conditions are not at all favorable now, but something genuine, like buying good art from Visa, one of his nice art portraits, definitely look into it. And something which is, again, like a good collectible, maybe it could be a Nike shoe or a Gucci dress, please, that's something worth looking into it.
Okay, so you personally think that the time for startups coming into the Web3 asking for fund, like just launching an NFT just for funding, you don't think that time has passed?
There's always phases. Of course, now is not the right time, but a startup with a genuine use case and application will always get the funding. There's always capital available at any point of time, and irrespective of the leadership position of a startup, it doesn't mean that you cannot penetrate that market and beat him. ChatGPT is clearly displacing Google now, so it's a very good example for everybody, startups or even existing companies, that do not give up hope. You have a good idea, you can break into it, you can break anybody.
Yeah, that's very interesting because even AI has been around forever, but ChatGPT is what made AI very well known to people. It's you know, the concept of like coming in and asking for money is always also been the case. Like it's not new, but NFTs made it more accessible, it seems like, for people. Would you agree?
Exactly. Like I said, NFTs can be used for anything, anything. Even the governments can use it for a bus ticket. So the applications are very wide and it's mass. So you can have like at least 1 billion to 3 billion NFTs being minted every day for any service. For even a restaurant service, or calling for an Uber, or selling a Bugatti. It all depends on what applications you're focusing on. And depends again on how the investor or the end user or a normal citizen would like to basically use it. And he can demand it that I want that NFT. Today you take a bottle, there is a barcode. The barcode gives you exactly who the manufacturer is. In the future, you'll have the NFT code similarly like that, and you'll be able to take an app and scan that, and it'll give you the details of the entire product, the raw materials used, where the raw materials has come from. So that's where the NFT application is basically going into the future. So in for services, even for your job application, you'll have an NFT. You know, applying for your passport, anything, paying for your power bill, your telephone bill. NFT is going to be very, very humongously massive.
Got it. We're going to come back to that in a second. So as far as the research side of things, so that's a use case, right? And can you speak to that?
Yeah, so just a few words before I speak about NFTs. I'm researching in artificial intelligence, and for artificial intelligence, big data is everything. So when I started to choose where to join, I joined the game project of Farcana, because it's a big gaming project, and you generate a lot of data. And you use this data as a scientist for multiple usages. For example, fighting brain disease. Because these players, they play every day. They are perfect donors. They don't care much where the data is going. They're ready to do it every day. It's fun. And they are doing something different, right? But then you have to give them something back, because the research is something that you cannot measure immediately. It will come up, the results will come up, or patents will come up in 6 months, in a year. So you can offer them back for their data. We call it research NFT. So you cannot imagine how much data we got immediately after introducing this mechanism. And it's a well-known, well-proven movement called DESI, decentralized science. Most of the scientists are joining this movement now. I'm one of the such scientists. And we enjoy this peer-to-peer communication. So when you combine gaming, Farcana is a big, huge game. We made a scientific division there, Farcana Labs, that immediately signed cooperations with multiple universities. Because again, universities need data. And you can collect this data without investing any money. The secret about ChatGPT is very good labeling of data. That means you collect a lot of data, you spend a lot of money on labeling it, and this is, most of your money go there. Imagine you have the same vehicle where you pay with NFTs, they'll be paid up later if you are a successful scientist, and you spend zero money on all this labeling. So this is what decentralized science is, and this is what we introduced to the game. And honestly, I see more and more scientists coming to the gaming because of this new mechanism of funding and getting data.
Very good. Now, when it comes to asking for funding, right? So I speak with VCs, and I hear sometimes it's a challenge for them, just like you said, right? So it's risky. It's maybe they don't know, like it's very volatile industry, right? What would you, like as just you guys' own strategy right now, given the market it is, right? So there's conversation about bank runs. There's conversations about, you know, USDC not being in a very good place, and you know the SVP and 50% of the startups in the US actually being basically banking with them, right? Now, what is it that you guys looking for right now when it comes to funding? Like, who do you want to fund right now? So you talk about a little bit about infrastructure, but like, what's what is it for you guys right now? What's
One of the last investment that we did was EigenLayer, maybe you know it, and the other one was Delta Prime. And Delta Prime is the project that is actually running on Avalanche, which is not our favorite chain or whatsoever. But they've been developing their project already. I've known them personally for over a year, and we invested in the first round. It was seed round. Before they had grants and so on. And I could see all the development they did in 1 year and how they were working inside of the team, you know, everything about, I knew a lot about them, and when it came to the moment of decision if we invest, then we immediately knew that, okay, we just checked red flags, then we want to know answers, and if they answer successfully, we are okay with this. And actually, we did this decision in like 2 hours that we are going to invest. So, and the thing about this project was that they already had 20 million total value locked, and they were raising in valuation of 12 millions. So, you know, there were too many good factors about this.
That makes sense. Can you speak to that as well? Like, what do you think is a contributor for getting funding right now as a startup coming into the market? Now, would it be with NFTs or just doing anything to do with Web3 and actually acquiring funding?
I don't know if NFTs are the best route, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, because you're, again, stuck in an illiquid market as an investor. You know, I don't know, try pitching to your investor that, hey, we're doing this NFT raise. Do you want to buy hundreds of these? And there's not going to be a liquid market for them. I don't think they're going to like it. So I think like a lot of the projects are now raising with equity. So it's more like equity than token warrants. And I think for...
Would you say both or just one or the other?
I think it's equity first. What I say is equity first, and then it's like token warrants. So when they release the token, then there's a right to purchase it at a certain price or get it. But I think for like many times, like when we talk to different projects and their fundraising, like I noticed they don't necessarily understand the pipeline. So it's good for them to understand who they're speaking to. In terms of if it's like the first person vetting them versus if it's like the people who are actually going to make the decision, because the conversation needs to be a bit different. So I think that wise maybe just like a bit more social skills will be helpful in from the companies that I've seen. But yeah, definitely not NFTs.
Interesting. So just having more intel into who they're speaking with.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense.
Most important is that actually. There's a lot of good companies out there, but how to do the process is more important usually than...
Very good, very good.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that as well? So you're actually for, so it's actually interesting. So this is a very divided panel right now. So the other side basically saying NFT is not good for raising money. And then on the other side, you guys are saying it's actually a really good thing. So can you speak to that as well?
Yes, definitely. Like I said earlier, the NFT application and the adoption is very, very great. And it again depends on the end use case, how functional it is, how it is required, as it provides transparency. So the more transparency there is, the more traceability there is, there's more trackability there is, it's more going to come into the phase, right? So whether, like I said, whether it's a normal citizen or it's a billionaire, if he says that I want the NFT for it, which gives me the full provenance of the product or the service, he's going to demand it, you have to provide it. So it'll come to a point that everybody will say and agree, okay, let's have the NFT, whether they like it or not. So this side says, fine, it's not required now, I respect it. But it will come to a point, certain parts to start with will be required, and then there'll be a full blown up compulsory that NFT is required. I go with that. So whether it's for the big data.
Yeah, just like how email was a thing, you know, in the past, let's
exactly.
say years ago, you would say email, people would be like, I don't know what that is, right?
It's not the email I'm talking about, it's like the internet. You need the internet
course,
now.
Yeah.
You need it like your air,
yeah.
You need like your water, and you like your power.
I like that. You need
as
NFTs like water, guys.
You need it. So NFTs,
awesome.
NFTs will come to that phase. It's like a mobile phone. If you don't have a mobile phone, you're handicapped.
Yeah.
Right?
I wish we had more time talking about differences between, like, let's say, a barcode versus NFT.
Oh, yes. It's, you trust
you know
me,
what I mean?
I've done my full research on it. Because we're going to invest in that project. That's why.
It's very interesting. Okay, if you want to speak to that as well. So
yeah, just give you an example.
We're talking about NFTs being used for getting funding.
Yes, and 2 years ago when decentralized science just started, small research in the University of Copenhagen, not a very big university, got funded. Research scientists got funded by sending NFTs on the future IP.
Very cool.
It was called IP NFT, and still this mechanism is working. And these deep tech startups, based on fundamental research, are very popular now. Longevity, you see Elon Musk with SpaceX, with all this. It's basically deep tech. You can only do this if you get funded, if you give easy, simple funding mechanism to scientists. And basically, IP NFTs, or we call it research NFTs, is a very good vehicle where people can really invest, and you can crowdfundingly invest into research. And this multiplicator of these investments are really huge, because legally, there is no problem in funding and getting fraction of the future patent. I mean, it's legal in the States, it's legal all over the world, the mechanism is there. Just some people don't speak about that much, but the more we speak about it, the more scientists will be funded through NFTs. I'm absolutely sure about it. You can see the transactions within the last 2 years. It's increasing. And that's a perfect tool for any scientist. Just say, I'll give you a small example. As a scientist in my university, I have to apply for the grant. It takes time, it takes money. I cannot find volunteers who are going to participate in there. The moment I issue NFT, it's all there. So if you find a good project, like a gaming project, for example, that I'm speaking about today, you get everything done immediately. And for a scientist, it's a real fortune.
So basically cutting the middleman, cutting a lot of steps, and a lot of inefficiencies that's in there with NFTs makes it a lot more accessible. So that's all we have time for on this panel. Just give your panelists a round of applause. Thank you.
Before it ends, can I ask one question?
Yeah.
I know we're running out of time here, but we've gone way past time, which is always good. It's always a sign of a good panel. One of the things that I'm very interested in is the non-sexy side of NFTs. So when it comes to investing, you're saying you don't invest kind of led by NFTs, but what about something where somebody, let's just say anti-money laundering or identification? So if somebody goes into Decentraland with or Sandbox or whatever, with an NFT that contains their personal and verified information, does that not make it easier for new companies who then don't have to perform the costly registration, the costly KYC, the costly due diligence? Because surely something underlying that, if it's done and somebody just comes in, the main obstacle to activation is gone. Do you think that if you're investing in something that requires that sort of AML, KYC, that utility NFT will actually facilitate greater business? So underlying, it's like I said, it's not the sexy part, but it's a very useful part that I think.
Yeah, like regarding to KYC, AML, we are seeing actually quite many projects that are trying to capture this space, but each of them makes it in different way, but they have something in common. They try to build a platform where you go, where you do some task, and where is your history, and basically you are getting some rating and so on. So
yeah.
I'm not really sure how it will go, because there are, like I said, too many projects working on this. So we can just observe that. We are not totally professional in that space, don't have the best data, so we're just observing it, but definitely it makes sense.
Yeah.
If I may add one thing to
okay, one thing, then I'm going to have to end it. Go ahead.
Regarding to funding for startups and NFTs, we are getting a lot of decks from gaming projects, and there is one conflict I have, because they are saying, we are having revenue of 2 or 3 millions or whatsoever, and I'm like, what's your revenue? We sold NFTs, and I'm like, is that your revenue? Because you are not having game done, it's not playable. So those people who bought NFTs, what do you think? How many of them is just speculators who are speculating on the price of NFTs? They are like, they don't really know. And I'm like, maybe that's 10%. So basically, it's not your revenue, it's your funding.
Yeah. Okay. Arvin, thank you especially for moderating the last 2 sessions. That was really interesting. Like I said, it's always a sign of a good session when you go way over time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.